Knowing that this is such an emotional thing for parents, how do you feel that your attitude or your emotions affect the IEP meeting?
The attitude of the parent, I think, sets the tone for the IEP. Um, we all know that it's all about the child, it's all about the student. That's why we're all sitting around the table. But it's hard to remember that sometimes when we don't agree on necessarily everything. Maybe you come into the IP knowing I don't agree with this placement, I don't agree with the services, but we just have to remind ourselves we are on the same team. And the best attitude to come in with, I think, is one of gratitude. If you go in and the first thing that you say is, hey guys, before we start, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the time and effort you've invested into my child. I think that goes a long way. I mean, people have been working hard in their own right at helping your child to succeed. And even if we don't necessarily agree on everything, I think that is helpful to acknowledge that work that's been done ahead of time, just even leading up to IEP. Um, it's a meeting that will result in a legal and binding document, the IEP document, and so it's a professional thing. You don't have to wear a suit and tie, but you also don't want to come in ripped jeans and a stained shirt. Try to present yourself in as much of a professional or respectful way as possible. I think that kind of ties into body language. If you're sitting there with your arms crossed and giving a dirty look to the person that you don't like, that's obviously going to affect the dynamic and the tone of the IEP.
Uh-huh.
So if you have just pleasant body language, it's just sitting there and making eye contact, nodding, making sure to listen, to not interrupt, to just use your body and your tone of voice to communicate, hey, I respect what you have to say. Thank you for your piece. And then I want to also communicate this piece. I think that will always result in any kind of a group dynamic team situation in the best result.
Mm-hmm.
We as parents have to remember the A in FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education. Appropriate doesn't always mean the very best or most expensive or perfect. The school district is offering what they're able to offer in order to have our child achieve academic success in the educational school system. So obviously we're going to have to make our levels of expectations and standards match that. There's some no-brainer things like don't raise your voice, don't cuss, of course we're going to put our phone on vibrate or silent, and we're not going to be tweeting as they're talking to us. I think just kind of being aware that you really have a large impact on the dynamic of the IEP, it makes a difference. And to just go in and think, I'll be pleasant, I'll be professional. And hey, sometimes we make mistakes. It's an emotional time being at the IEP. You might get overwhelmed, you might get defensive. We're talking about the struggles and, shortcomings in some ways of our child that we love so much. So if there is ever a time where you just totally lose it, kindly take a break or apologize, move on. But remember that it's easier to maintain a relationship than it is to repair a relationship. So trying to keep that pleasant, professional, grateful attitude is actually going to go a long way in helping you get what you want for your child.
I think a lot of what you were saying in terms of your behavior at the meeting and your appearance also, while it does speak to the respect that you have for the other team members, it also sounds to me like showing respect for yourself in your role, and you know that you have something important to bring to the team, and that I think helps to set the tone that this isn't just the mom. This is the mom. This is an important person on the team. These are the parents. So I think that that's a really great point in terms of your, professionalism that you have and your attitude in interacting with the rest of the team. I know we can only control our own actions, though. Have you been in a situation where you felt like somebody else on the team wasn't being professional or was trying to pick a fight or whatever?
So thankfully, I've had really good experiences with our IEPs. However, there's a lot of different people out there, and people are there. You never know the kind of day that a person is having. And if someone comes in and they are interrupting you and raising your voice or talking down to you, and it's making you mad, I've heard of a story in which the husband had to ask the occupational therapist to leave the IEP, and the rest of the team agreed because this person was being so oppositional and so combative and disrespectful. And I think in a worst case scenario, if it's just someone that is absolutely you cannot deal with, and you realize that this meeting is going nowhere, I think it's okay. I think that husband did the right thing, and everybody agreed with him, and the rest of the IEP went a lot better after that. But in general, I think is more of the rarity and the exception, and not the norm. And it brings up at the point of what does it mean to be positional? If you go into your IEP with a mindset of he will be in room 5 with this teacher because that is what he needs, well, that's not really opening possibilities of other options for your child to get what he needs. Because a lot of times the school district has knowledge and has options of things that could be helpful for your child that we might not know about. And so if you ask open-ended questions like, well, how could we blank in order to help my child blank? Then you might get a variety of responses. And if you want to suggest, well, maybe room 5 would be a way, hey, maybe it would. Or maybe room 7 is better because of things that we haven't even been made aware of. So I think just going in with more open-ended questions and not necessarily sticking to a position on a placement or a specific service, but asking for input is going to always be helpful.
So to have an openness as part of our attitude when we're going into it, not have our minds made up about anything, but have an openness to hear what the school district has to say.
Absolutely. It's a balance between, like you said, treating yourself with respect and commanding respect with your presence, but also giving respect to the professionals for what they have to offer as well.